That was an all too common Bengals L. What's up, you guys? I'm Sean Ross Sapp, and that is the season for the Cincinnati Bengals. Unless the Steelers and Ravens both lose out, potentially tie at the end of the season, this is it for the Cincinnati Bengals. They are guaranteed a losing season for the first time since Joe Burrow's rookie year. Not even when Joe Burrow tore his wrist apart did they manage a losing season. And this is the game that finally made me say it's time for Zach Taylor to go. I have been far more lenient than many. He doesn't construct the team. He doesn't set the defensive schemes. But can't win with Burrow, can't win without Burrow. Can't coach up your players to make one simple stop to at least give them the chance. It's time for Zach Taylor to hit the bricks. Thank you very much for helping us get to a Super Bowl and an AFC championship. But 3 straight seasons with 9 wins or less, it is time to go. Now, the Bengals won't do that. The Brown family won't do that. Why? Because he's getting paid through next year. So next year, if they don't make the playoffs for the 4th straight year, then the Bengals will get rid of Zach Taylor. But not before then, because they'd have to pay him, right? I complained before Joe Burrow came back that I felt like, unfortunately, so many in our fan base had a real loser mentality that I didn't like. Because they were like, oh my God, why is Joe Burrow even playing this season? Why is because he can go out there and play. Because he wants to win. Because he's not a loser. But there's far too many people without that mentality on the Bengals right now. Very specifically on defense. Now, Joe Burrow may have very well thrown the game away twice in a row. 2 straight plays. Uncharacteristic. One of the worst plays of Joe Burrow's career was that pick 6. Terrible play call, terrible execution, terrible decision, terrible follow-up with the announcer saying, if there's one thing you know, it's that Joe Burrow won't allow this to happen twice, and then it happens again. Okay. But even then, your defense puts you in a position to go up and make a game-winning drive with about a minute and change left. And quite frankly, your loser-ass defense can't make a stop on 3rd and 15 and a quarterback run. In the first quarter of today's game, I tweeted that the Bengals' inability to sack and stop Josh Allen was going to be the difference in this game. And I am not happy that I was right about that. I will brag about being right about that. But, what? I'm Sean Ross Sapp that doesn't know anything about the X's and O's of football. I'm a fan. And I can see it. Sure, they're in the snow. Didn't stop them from landing 3 sacks today. Sure, it's Josh Allen, MVP. He's fantastic. He's great. Bills are very lucky to have him. I wouldn't take him over Burrow personally. I like having Burrow on the team. But he's great. But he's not invincible. The Bengals allowed him to run for the longest touchdown of his career. Then allowed him to ice the game on 3rd and 15. Which should have been an easy, okay, they're just putting one out there to punt it type of play. You should have expected a run there. Whether it be from him or James Cook. You should have expected that. Not these Bengals. Not this coaching staff. Not these losers. And I mean that from a professional standpoint, not a personal standpoint. Zach Taylor has coached a losing culture, and it has always started at the top. The Brown family wants Bengals fans to be satisfied with a losing culture. They want you to say, oh my gosh, They can still win out. There's still a chance. There's still a chance. They want you to say that. Because at least the players on the field and the players on offense have been good enough to keep it interesting until the last game of the year each year. And here we were at 4-8, delusional as hell, saying, season's not over. And there was a legitimate path. But not with this team, not with this defense. Not when you give up 31 yards on defense. Doesn't happen. Oh, sorry, 32 yards on defense. My apologies. And still, we're in a situation where if the offense wouldn't have thrown that pick six, the Bengals scored 34 points, and it could have been a real possibility. Zach Taylor has to go. Al Golden sucks too, buddy. Just a bad hire. That's it. Get somebody who hasn't ever been involved with the Bengals before. I don't care about familiarity. If there's one thing I don't want, it's familiarity right now. I want something completely different. The Bengals have a loser culture in coaching, in management, in ownership, and specifically on the defense. It is loser culture. And they desperately want the fans to accept loser culture. They desperately want the fans to say, well, I mean, we're a smaller market team. No, there's a salary cap, buddy. Every one of these teams makes money by owning an NFL team. Jay Carter says, why didn't they even try an onside kick? Because you know what Zach Taylor always says? Hey, you got to trust your defense there. You just got to trust your defense. Why would you trust your defense? It's statistically the worst of all time. I'll say this again. If the Bengals had anything better than statistically the worst defense of all time, they would have 3 more wins now. And they would be tied for first place in the division. If they just had the second worst defense of all time, they would have 3 more wins. That's how bad they are. 4 straight losses within 1 possession. Guys, I've been screaming it for a year and a half, 2 years. The Bengals can't cover tight ends. Go back to Common Bengals W Twitter and just type in over the middle in my search bar. I'll do it right now. Well, let's see how long ago I've been complaining about how the Bengals can't defend over the middle, aka defending tight ends. It's been years. It's been a clear weakness. It's been the case for so long. And I want to say this, Sean Ross Sapp, who doesn't know anything about the X's and O's of football, has been complaining since September of 2023 that the Cincinnati Bengals cannot get stopped over the middle to tight ends. This is 3 straight seasons. 3 straight seasons. Coaching culture, tackling culture, bad personnel on defense. It's horrible. And they get diced every time. And even when it's not throwing over the middle, it's running across the middle. The Bengals defense is among the easiest to game plan for in the NFL. Run the ball, and then when they start to defend the run, throw it over the middle. Tight ends, slot receivers, all that stuff. But they do all right against wide receivers, like going deep. Like they can do pretty well against that. They don't give up a ton of stuff there, but they brought it up numerous times. The Bengals give up more yardage to tight ends all year. Dawson Knox had 210 yards all season, said Mark. 93 today. Yep. Bengals on the ground gave up 6.3 yards per carry. We got the old Chase Brown back. 1.9 yards a carry. He did rush for a touchdown. He had a great catch and touchdown, so I don't want to bury him too much. T. Higgins, was spotty, but had 2 really great touchdowns. One along the sideline, and then another one, an incredible one-handed catch where there should have been pass interference called anyway. There wasn't. He had a couple drops that would have changed this game, though. But, it's hard for me, despite Burrow's 2 ridiculous interceptions, despite a couple of bad drops from Higgins, a rough one from Yoshi Voss as well, to blame the offense, because the offense still put up 34 points a game, or 34 points in this game. And if you are putting up 34 points, you should expect to win. You should be able to win an NFL game with that. Samaje Perine, I can't believe they didn't go to him more. 5.2 a carry. He was an absolute workhorse. He did great. Had a catch for 7 yards. They spread the ball around a lot. Like Tanner Hudson got in there and got some catches. Jamar got a few catches. Nothing enormous. But I do want to take this time to put over the offensive line that gave up 1 sack today. The offensive line heading in today gave up the 11th fewest sacks. And my God, man. Oh, yeah, Mike Gesicki was great too, Charles. This offensive line has just been doing their job ever since Joe Flacco showed up. This is the offensive line we've always dreamed of. This is the offensive line that we have prayed for. And now that we have it, the defense can't do anything. I'm sorry. It's time for Zach Taylor to go. I like the guy on a personal level. I think he's a nice guy. I actually think he could make a great offensive coordinator when I see some of the play calls. If he didn't have to worry about head coaching, I think he could make a better. I think he needs to be a head coach or an offensive coordinator, not both. You know what I mean? He doesn't need to be calling the plays, but it's time, man. The Bengals made the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship, and it always gets harder after a rookie contract is up. But it's up, and they spent a ton of money on the offense. They spent they let I don't know. How much different would this team be with Trey Hendrickson, who they paid out the ass this year, has been hurt. And then when he plays, his production has been halved. Well, Joseph Osai's gotten quite a few sacks this year as a result of that, so he's probably going to get paid elsewhere. If I'm the Bengals, I can't let him go. I bring back Osai because I know what he brings, and he's still young. I bring back Osai before anything next year. And then I make, like, hey, does Trey want to stay? Is he healthy? What's he willing to take? Because I am not trusting Shamar Stewart, and I don't know what the deal is with Miles Murphy. He's shown flashes. But I hate to say this, Bengals were right about not paying Trey. Right? Like, how would we feel right now if Trey Hendrickson missed all this time and was fully guaranteed next year for $35 million? I would feel pretty bad about that. I would rather them go out and sign 2 brand new edges for $15 million each than one Trey Hendrickson at the current production and health. And I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. They are wasting Joe Burrow's prime years. They are wasting one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, Jamar Chase. They're wasting his years because they don't have leaders on defense. What they need to do, as Charles says, they have to pay DJ Turner, and they have to do it this offseason. Do not wait until next offseason. If you have learned anything, it is that you should have paid T. Higgins immediately. You should have paid Jamar Chase immediately. And I've said this about 200 times. If they would have paid Jesse Bates what he wanted as soon as they did, and then paid the 2 receivers as soon as they could, they would have all 3 of them. They would have paid probably $2 or $3 million more than what they're paying now for just Chase and Higgins. And they would have made the playoffs last year, and they would have made the playoffs the year before that. Jesse Bates being on this team would have got the Bengals in the playoffs the last 2 years. This year, hard to say. Hard for me to believe that Jesse Bates being on this team wouldn't have won this game. I think they would have. I think the Bengals would have won this game if Jesse Bates was playing for this team. I think they would have beat the Jets. I think the Bengals would probably have 6 or 7 wins if they had just re-signed Jesse Bates. So we're looking at 3 straight seasons where if the Bengals would have just re-signed one of the best safeties in the league, they would have made the playoffs. And as a result of them not, they aren't. And to me, that falls on everybody. What if they drafted a better guy in the 3rd round last year instead of Jermaine Burton, who was a healthy scratch again? Well, maybe that would have made the difference last year. Maybe if you would have drafted somebody that fit there, or I don't know, got any veteran corner, veteran DB, you wouldn't have had Dejon Anthony up there getting called for DPI against the Chiefs. You would have made the playoffs. There are so many blows of the wind, so to speak, that kept the Bengals out of the playoffs in 23 and 24. Burton was suspended for today's game. I didn't see that. What did he do? What did he do? What a dope. What an absolute dope, man. I will say I like the coaching to call the timeout, preserve time in the first half. The offensive line played fantastic today. Let's go back to the Green Bay game. 1 sack with Joe Flacco in, 2 against the Steelers, 1 against the Jets, it was 3 against the Bears, 1 against the Steelers, 1 against the Patriots, 1 today. And what was it? Was it 1 last week as well? Woo, boy. $11 sacks over 8 games? You give me 11 sacks over 8 games in any stretch of Joe Burrow's career, and I am over the moon. Getting sacked at that rate gives the Bengals a Super Bowl in 2021 and 2022. This team has just turned it around. Just completely turned it around on the offensive line. It's just incredible work. Incredible work. Scott Peters has done a phenomenal job. Scott Peters has been great. I've got nothing bad to say about Scott Peters. Out of all the coaching, all that stuff, I look at him and I'm like, all right, big fan of him. He's done a wonderful job. If you're Bengals fans, you can't accept this stuff. I've already made this decision, and I made it last year. I am not going to pay for a Bengals ticket anytime soon unless I see something different. I've had my good friend Drew, who invites me to games. I'll gladly accept. I cannot pay for Bengals tickets knowing what they don't give us as fans, knowing how they treat us as fans, and knowing that they roll out a defense last year that was so bad that the whole league joked, you got to score 40 points. And then they made no noticeable upgrades. You got TJ Slayton, thanks. And I know a lot of people were like, we should have kept DJ Reader. DJ Reader wasn't helping this team. DJ Reader is not Jesse Bates. All due respect to DJ Reader. I like DJ Reader just fine. But we're not talking about a guy that was a game wrecker like Jesse Bates was. And he played, I think, the lowest number of snaps or lowest percentage of snaps last year than he had since his rookie year. And then this year, he's playing an even lower percentage of snaps. So, no, I don't necessarily need DJ Reader there. Heard everybody a couple years ago, oh, my God, you got to keep Joe Mixon. No, Joe Mixon wasn't good, and now he's hurt. Glad he had a renaissance year last year. Those were okay moves. I'm fine with those. But when you have a top 10 player, there are 64, 65 starting safeties in the league. When you have a top 10 safety, you re-sign him because it makes the difference. And we are 3 years on and I'm still salty about it because I see stuff like this. If you've got a top 10 player at a position, you re-sign him. And then you fill in the gaps elsewhere. Duh. Unless you happen to have two of them, fine. And in Higgins' case, they're like, no, let's do that. And that's okay because then you can do patchwork with your number 3 receiver and you'll be all right. This is so frustrating to watch as a Bengals fan. It's just the same thing every year. The same thing every year. There might be a twist here and there. Oh my God, they started off 2-0. And great. They're in another like 4-7, 4-8 hole. You can't accept this as a Bengals fan. You can't. I'll still be here streaming every week, so I guess I am, right? I gave up after the Ravens game last year, and I always felt bad about it. I was like, no, man. This is my most watched show ever at that point. And I split the views with DraftKings. But I said I wouldn't do that this year because I want to be here for the ups, the downs. I want to cover this as a fan to a complete level. I'm going to have more off-season shows than I've ever had before. But this was the most common Bungles L that we could possibly have. As I promoted this show, I was like barring a complete collapse, and it happened. It happened, and it was the guy that we expected at least from, Joe Burrow, throwing 2 of the worst throws he's ever thrown in his career, including the one that was the worst. Then it was a very predictable defense that just slammed the door. Off-season, veteran DB, veteran linebacker, veteran defensive line run stopper. And that's before you even address edge. The offense is good. Hopefully Dalton Reisner will come back. But other than that, offensive line is all right. Resign Ted Karras. The offensive line looks good. Draft a center. Sure. Wide receiver, we're good there. You can pick up a number 3 off the scrap heap somewhere. We'll be all right. Tight ends, Gesicki looks healthy. I thought that we had seen the last of Gesicki. He's fine. He's also slot receiver. If you can bring back Noah Fant, that would be lovely. I'm not counting on it. Bengals have always done good bringing people off the scrap heap. You're going to have your last year of Chase Brown under his rookie contract. That's cool. Bring back Samaje Perine. He's an absolute dog. See what Taj Brooks can do. You're good on the offense. You have to re-sign DJ Turner. You need to bring in a veteran safety and corner probably. You need to re-sign Joseph Osai at this point. You got to hope that Trey Hendrickson takes less money. I would bring in another veteran edge. You have to get a veteran interior pass rush guy. You need a piece at every defensive position almost. It's insane. I don't know, man. It's disheartening. And it's been the same thing. I've done this show for, over 3 years at this point. I started it during the AFC championship or AFC title game year. And I love it. It's like my favorite thing to do. As frustrating as the Cincinnati Bengals are, it is such an escape from my day job of wrestling nonstop all the time. And I look at this and I feel like it's 2019 WWE. That's how I feel about this era of the Cincinnati Bengals. It is 2018, 2019, 2020 WWE. And those of you that know what I'm talking about know exactly what I'm talking about. And you go, God, it is bad then, huh? Yeah, it's that bad. Today was the Cincinnati Bengals tied to the ring post with dog food poured on them. That's what today was. It was abysmal. And you watch it, and guess what? 2019 WWE had Roman Reigns. It had some phenomenal talent on it. Right now, Joe Burrow is being booked as the big dog. Can he overcome it? Just keep pouring that dog food on, buddy. It's insane. It's insane that happens every single year. And like, we've got it better than Browns fans. They lost to the Titans today. The Bengals have at least shown that they can stick in there with, the Bills, one of the best teams in the league every year. They delivered against, some good teams this year. Jaguars, like they beat the Jaguars. Jaguars look good. They beat the Steelers. The Steelers are what the Steelers are going to do. But listen, they're in the running. I don't know, man. First off, if you're Bengals media, ask what's up with Jermaine Burton. For the love of God. It's such an easy question to ask. You got to ask questions of the defense. Gotta. Steelers ended up beating the Ravens. Cool. Cool, man. We would need the Steelers to lose out to stand a chance at this stage. Let's see who they got. The Dolphins, the Browns, they're beating them. The Lions and the Ravens. Listen, that could happen. They could lose the Lions and the Ravens. Ravens, yeah. They're not losing to the Browns, buddy. They're not losing. So it would take the Steelers going 1-3. The Bengals would have to win out. And the Ravens would need to go 1-3 as well. And the Ravens might go 1-3. They play the Bengals. You never know how that goes. Patriots are good. Packers, TBD. Steelers, TBD. But listen, Packers or Steelers got to win one of those, right? One of those teams got to win. So basically, they would need to lose every game that isn't against one another. Woo! It's frustrating. It's disappointing. Hope you guys follow me at Common Bengals W. That is the actual name of the show, by the way. It's just been Common Bungles L for quite some time. So, oh, man. Check out my shorts tab. Check out my videos tab. I am on YouTube. I am on Twitter. And now I am out.